Today I want to talk to you guys about something that has been asked a lot recently, about how we hire people and what we're looking for and what works for us. I'm also going to circle into the macro issue of the living wage, because I did notice a number of people making comments about that on the comment section of my video that I did yesterday on internships, our internship program. So first, as far as hiring, what I'm looking for with people is two things, and I don't care about anything else: your age, your gender, where you come from. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is your attitude and your ability to work, so your work ethic. So we're looking for positive people that are open-minded, that don't mind hanging out with people that have different views than them, people that own up, have skin in the game, take responsibility for themselves, and are go-getters. On the work ethic side, you know, all I care about is, can you do it? Can you work in not nice weather? Can you work in the rain? Can you work in the mud? Can you work in the heat? Are you willing to do what needs to be done to get it done regardless of the time? You know, if you're looking at the clock waiting for 5 o'clock every day so that you can go home, even though it's only going to take an extra 15-20 minutes to finish the job, that's what we're looking for, is somebody who can show up and get it done regardless of the time. So attitude and work ethic, that's it. What you studied in university, where you've worked before, I don't really care. It's like those two things, and I find those two things are really easy to figure out with somebody. Just talking to them for a few minutes, you get a real sense of where people are at. So what I've done on my farm that's really helped me find good people is something really quite simple. Is my farm is so small and so lean that I'm not dependent on people to run it. At the end of the day, if everyone were to leave my farm tomorrow, and I really only have one person and a couple part-time people in the summer, is I could do it all myself, and I've done it before. In fact, that's what got me known for running my operation, is the fact that it was so lean. So this puts me in a position of abundance, in that I don't need somebody to come in and help me run my farm. It's so small that I can do it myself. So it means that when I'm hiring people, I'm not coming from a place of desperation or scarcity. I'm coming from a place of abundance. Well, it's like, yeah, if you're the right person, then you can fit, but I'm not going to hire somebody that isn't the right person. And a lot of farms that I consult for are big operations that they need 20 people just to get the bare bones of their operation running. And that means you got to go on Craigslist, and you got to go into the general public and just kind of take what you can get. And that's not a good position to be in. You want to be in a place of abundance where you can take it or leave it, right? It's like going into a negotiation when you're coming from a place of desperation is a horrible place to be, because it often means that you're going to be railroaded, that you're going to settle for what you don't need. Whereas if you come from a place of, yeah, I can take it or leave it, then you're often going to get a better deal. So that's where I'm coming from as far as hiring people, and what we're looking for is we're looking for a good attitude. And so on the whole side of the living wage, you know, I noticed a couple comments there yesterday about our internship program, and we have a 6-week internship program, and the information is on my website if you're curious. And people saying, well, why don't you pay people a living wage? Well, here's the deal. An internship program, an intern is worth very little to me, especially for 6 weeks. And I understand that there are farmers out there and people that abuse the intern, and we're certainly not one of them. But I've seen this, where, you know, you have an intern is basically just free labor. This is why I've put my internship program at 6 weeks, is because I want to crank out at least 3 people a year that come here and can go out and crush it in the real world. So we're not dependent on that labor. We can take it or leave it. I've created an internship program to get really good people out there who can go and do this, because I want people to succeed. I want people to take this farming model and run with it. And 6 weeks of a person working here, you know, in 6 weeks, you're not going to get good enough at washing radishes, for example, that I can just leave you alone and you can create value for the company without me being there. Because that's what a good employee does, right? They create value so that you can leverage yourself to do other things. And if I'm going to hire somebody on my farm as a permanent full-time person, they need to do that. They need to be very little work for me, because if they cause me to work more, then they're obviously not worth anything. So they need to create value. And an intern doesn't do that. An intern, the idea here is that we want to have I'm thinking of the greater picture. I want to get people out there that can go out and succeed. And in 6 weeks, it's just enough time that you can come here and get a sense of how this operation works, and then you can go and mimic it somewhere else and go out and succeed. I didn't create this program to get free labor. Like I said, 6 weeks of a person training them is worth nothing. So this whole idea of this living wage and that you're entitled to some kind of wage because you have 2 kids and a mortgage, that attitude might sound good in the political space, and I know many politicians can get elected on those talking points because, hey, you're going to promise me at my crappy McDonald's job, you're going to promise me $15 an hour? Great. Well, it's like, you know, it's promising people free stuff, but in the real world of business, nobody cares what you think you're entitled to. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but I'm here to give you guys a dose of reality. Nobody cares what you think you should be paid. The question is, and how you should be paid, is what value do you bring to make that person, that business more successful? That's what it is. It's value for value. Like in the real world, you don't go up and ask people for nothing. Like, nobody's going to give you something for nothing. You know, the government will, but that's a different thing. No, you can't just go up and ask people for a handout and expect to get it. You got to show up with value. This is how you win in the business world, is you show up with value. You, instead of asking what they can do for you, you ask, what can I do for you to help you? That's how you win. You don't win by saying, I'm entitled to this wage because I'm XYZ. You win by showing up with value, producing more value, and then the sky's the limit. And I see all these people today who are obsessed with this living wage idea, and I get where it's coming from. I get that there's businesses and people out there that are abusing other people's labor. I get that. But the reality is, in the real world, nobody cares what you think you're entitled to. That attitude is, you're going to lose. If you go out in the business world and you start a farm and you think that you're entitled to something because of whatever you have, you're going to lose. Nobody cares about that. All people care about at the end of the day is what you can do for them. In a way, we're all selfish. But we can meet in the middle, that if you show up with value and you help me, then I can help you. And any good business person understands this, in that if somebody shows up with value and they create a lot of value for your business, you have an economic incentive to keep them around, because if they're producing more than they're consuming, then you need to find a wage for them that's going to keep them there. And that's often how people's pay scales are, you know, are figured out. It's the complexity of the problems you solve and the amount of value that you bring to the table dictates what you're paid. And again, I'm talking about in my own personal experience and the businesses that I know and I have consulted for. I know that there's plenty of businesses out there that don't follow this method, but any really good business is going to do that. So you're going to go and work for those people that share your values. And if you look at really good companies like Google and Tesla, and you know, tons of software companies like Airbnb, all these people pay their people very well. It's not because they think that those people are entitled to that wage. It's because those people produce value. So that's the nuts and bolts of it, guys. I hope that answers some of those questions. I'm sure this subject will lead to many comments and questions. Please leave them below. We'll talk to you later.